Hello, welcome to the food that makes us, recipes that comfort and connect us. We're here today in my London kitchen and I'm going to show you how to make an amazing Azerbaijani dish called Serdakh. Okay, so some of my most favorite ingredients are involved today and they're going out of season, and I think this dish you just absolutely have to make it, especially if you've got access to really good tomatoes and nice aubergines. So we've got some butter, a whole pack. We've done this before, clarifying butter, but I'm going to show you again. We're going to clarify it and use it to cook our vegetables. Then I've got 2 aubergines, but you can use 3 if you want, or baby ones, about 10. And then I've got some cherry tomatoes. I've got some cut tomatoes that are left over from my breakfast, so I'm just going to use them up. I've got loads of garlic and really nice fresh herbs. I've got pineapple mint and Vietnamese coriander from the garden. Actually, we'll probably get some more in a bit, but you can use any soft herbs that you have at home. Dill, coriander, basil, tarragon, all of them together, it will all work beautifully. Let's just put this butter on and then I'll tell you a little bit more about the dish. So I've got my water boiling. It's actually boiling a little bit too hard, so I'm just gonna lower the heat. So it's a smaller pan and then a slightly bigger pan that I can put on top, and that's it. And we're just gonna leave that pack of butter to melt. So it's gonna melt, and then in a little bit of time, it's going to, the milk solids are going to rise to the top, which we're gonna skim them off, and then you'll have this beautiful clarified butter or ghee. And that's what they use a lot in Azerbaijan to cook with. And it's an amazing thing because you're getting rid of all of those milk solids, it actually keeps for ages, and that's why it's used in loads of hot countries. Okay, I'm gonna quickly tell you a little bit about this dish and how I came about it. So I met an amazing woman, Zulia Kazimova, in Azerbaijan, in Baku. Her family is actually from the Lenkaran area in the south of Azerbaijan, bordering on Iran, and she actually took us there, which was amazing. I've tried so many fantastic dishes in Azerbaijan while I was researching and shooting for my cookbook Caucasus, but her food and her family's food, it was just, next level. And she taught me how to make this dish. So basically it's very simple. As I said, it's tomatoes, garlic, clarified butter, herbs, and aubergines. And when she used aubergines, she had small ones, and she cut them into quarters, still connected at the top, and then she fried them that way. But I've got really big aubergines today, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut them up. And then in a bit, I'm going to show you a really neat trick on how to cut loads of cherry tomatoes at once. I'm just going to cut this off. And you know what I do? I mean, people always go and cut this much off. I know it might be, I don't know, a bit pernickety, but I feel like you're losing quite a lot of aubergine here. So I actually go all the way here, get rid of it, and then just peel these little bits off, because it's all edible, delicious aubergine, no need to waste. So you see, I'm just getting rid of that. And then I'm going to do the same here, just like that. And with this dish, I love dishes that have very familiar ingredients, but it's what you do with them that makes them taste really special, familiar and new at the same time. And I think aubergine cooked in butter or clarified butter is something that I actually, didn't used to do until I met Zulia and until she taught me how to make this dish. I hope that you're gonna love this kind of situation as well. And it's good with just a flatbread, just like a nice Turkish flatbread or something like that, or with some plain rice or brown rice, or even pasta. I mean, I don't see why not. It's so delicious and rich, but also fresh because of all of the tomatoes. It's the perfect September dish. When you still want a little bit of freshness, but when you're already ready to go into that kind of autumnal, wintry comfort zone. Okay, so with the aubergines, what I'm going to do with them today, I think you can cut it into rounds as well, but my instinct is to cut them into kind of like finger lengths or something, only because Zulia used the little aubergines like that. So I don't know, it will just be a nice pleasing shape, I think. So I'm going to cut them in half first. And then I'm going to cut each in half lengthways again. Make sure that it's all stable and you're not kind of like trying to do this because it's dangerous. So cut in half and then again, and then we're just gonna do kind of wedges, just like that. Maybe this one in half as well. So you get kind of pieces like this. And the reason why I went to Azerbaijan is because we actually have relatives. Well, they live in Kiev now, but they used to live in Baku. My dad's uncle got married to an Armenian woman, Auntie Tamara, and he moved to Azerbaijan, and they had a family there. And then their daughter had a daughter with an Azerbaijani man. So there's kind of like Armenian, Azerbaijani, Ukrainian family that has inspired our trip in 1987, I think. We drove all the way from Ukraine through Crimea, then through Abkhazia and Georgia and into Baku. And I actually remember some bits of the trip. And I recreated the trip with my brother almost. We couldn't go through Crimea because it was already occupied, but we flew into Georgia and we traveled all around Georgia, and then we traveled on the train to Azerbaijan and found all of these amazing recipes there as well. Found my auntie's old house, the flat where she used to live. It was actually quite emotional. We got there and I went to the flat and I asked the woman if she if she remembers them or if the neighbors remembered, but she didn't. She actually didn't speak the language either. So it was, but yeah, I remember crying and stuff. I don't know why. It was an emotional trip with my brother. I think that's why. So all of these aubergines we've got here. Now we have to wait a little bit for the clarified butter to clarify because I need to fry them in there and actually fry the garlic first. So let's put this in a bowl for now. And aubergines do oxidize, but who cares? They're gonna be fried anyway, and they're gonna get a little bit of that golden color. That's what sometimes I don't understand. Like I would put things that oxidize into lemon if they are in a salad or something. In a salad, you don't want to see something that's a little bit like an apple that has become oxidized or something. That's when I use lemon. If it's a vegetable that you're going to fry afterwards anyway, like what's the point? It's fine. So cut the aubergine. I'm just gonna put it here. Nice little finger lengths wedges, put it to the side. And then actually, so these tomatoes, we just had a little bit of a Ukrainian breakfast actually. Natalia, would you say? Yeah, it was a Ukrainian breakfast. So Joe fried some eggs and then he added loads and loads of dill and chives in it. And then we just had big pieces of really ripe tomatoes and some cucumbers, and we gorged and it was delicious. But I have a little bit left and it's already collected a little bit of liquid there, but actually I wouldn't mind a little bit more because normally the way that Zulia does this recipe is you fry the aubergines, you've got your garlic in there, then you put the tomatoes in, and then at the end you put 200 mils of water in just so it becomes saucier. But because I have these tomatoes, I'm just going to add them instead of water, and they're going to give me all of that water, but even more flavorsome because it's the tomato water. And actually, this is how they also make what they call a sweet water salad in Central Asia. So they slice tomatoes really thinly, then they salt them on purpose. So then they release all of this sweet water, and then you use those tomatoes with a little bit of herbs or whatever in your, kebab on a flatbread with some meat or whatever. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm just like salting them so they release more of the water, so I use it instead of water. Okay, garlic, quite a lot. So what we're gonna do with the garlic, we're not gonna fry it. We're not going to, make it, I don't want any color. I just want that really soft and mellow garlic flavor, and cooked in the clarified butter is just going to, that's the thing that I love. It's garlic and it's clarified butter and it's other ingredients that we know so well, but with this process and then with the addition of all of these herbs at the end, it just tastes really special and different. And also it's quite an easy and impressive dish to do for your guests if they come over. Or equally, it's a really good dish to do just for your family during the week. I love dishes like that when you can when it can be, it's just a universal dish that's amazing in any situation. So I've got my garlic. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just cut off the dry bit at the end, at the root end. And then I'm gonna give it a light bash, take the skins off, and then we're gonna slice it. But first I get rid of all of these little dry bits here. And then look, you just bash it lightly and then it comes off quite easily. So that's my that's how I do it. I'm just gonna slice the garlic, and it's just kind of, remember the claw, the eagle, and we just slice. Don't worry about the thinness or thick, just try to make it as uniform as possible, but I wouldn't worry too much. As I say, Zule just did a rough chop anyway. Okay, so the butter has been cooking for about 10-12 minutes, and it's already got little bits on top that I want to kind of skim off. And look, Kai, you already have that layer of clarified, beautiful golden butter, and most of the milk solids have gone to the bottom and some are floating on top. So I'm just gonna skim this off. If a tiny bit of the milk solids get into your cooking now, it's not the end of the world. They won't, it won't burn or anything. So that's it. So I'm just putting this in a little bowl, and then I'm gonna go in and get a ladleful, a spoonful of this butter. One, let's put it on. And actually, let's go two. So I'm just skimming the golden butter from the top. And because it doesn't have the milk solids, it's not going to burn. That's how you have brown butter. You all know that because I've shown you how to do it before, I think. So that's it. Beautiful golden, maybe one more actually. Let's do three, just so the garlic is properly submerged in it and doesn't burn. So we're just gonna heat it. I'm gonna grab the garlic from over here. Here it's just all on my knife. And I'm gonna put it into this butter. And in about a minute, we're going to have the most amazing smell. One of the top 3 smells, I think, that you can have in the kitchen. It's always onions or garlic, isn't it? But there's a special kind of magic when you're cooking sliced garlic slowly in clarified butter. Trust me. It's just such a satisfying and soulful dish to make, I think. So we've got our garlic here, and we're gonna, you kind of have to watch it a little bit, because I don't want any of the bits to color, really. You just want it to be, I don't know, just soft and translucent and mellow. You don't want it to become crispy at all. So I've lowered the heat, and look, it's a good idea, and I've shown you this before, but a good idea is to huddle your garlic kind of together in butter. Make sure that it covers it all. If it doesn't, you can always kind of lift it up a bit and do that. Huddle it on the side so it just slowly cooks. I'm gonna lower the heat a little bit more. That's it. I mean, the smell is coming. It's so good. And we're going to take it out actually in a sec. So I'm just gonna, whilst it's doing that, I'm gonna quickly rinse this bowl, and I'm gonna lift it out and put it in the bowl once I'm happy with its consistency and softness. Okay, so the garlic actually took about 5 minutes, I reckon. And I've got a slotted spoon over here. And you see, it's just, it smells amazing. It's looking soft. And it's going to cook a little bit more in the, whilst I almost feel like I didn't put enough garlic. Put a whole head in. If you love this kind of vibe, I would slice a whole small head of garlic in. Okay, cool. So garlic, we're just gonna put to the side for a sec, and then we're gonna add it in. So you've got this amazing garlic infused butter here. And what I'm gonna do, I'm going to skim just another spoonful in. Just like that. And I'm going to raise the heat a little bit because I want to fry the aubergines so they're nice and kind of caramelized. almost. Another thing that I really wanted to try in this recipe was to add a little bit of turmeric, just for the fun of it. I think I'm going to do it. Let me see if I've got some. One sec. So, also with your clarified butter, with the whole thing, you could add a little bit of turmeric to it. I've been using super ghee, with a shop bought but amazing quality ghee, and they have a turmeric flavor, which, I don't know, it just sounds really cool and it looks really cool with the color. So I'm just gonna add a tiny bit in. Like, one thing with turmeric, I feel like you shouldn't overdo it. So I've just added a little bit of turmeric in. I'm just gonna give it a little bit of a thing, and then I'm gonna put the aubergines in because it's hot now. So I'm just gonna put the aubergines in just like this. I just burned myself. Don't worry, it's fine. Carefully, put them in here carefully. No, let me just actually put them in carefully and away from yourself. So don't like plop it in so it splashes all onto your hands like I just did to myself. So away from yourself, just like that. Away from yourself and away from yourself. Do not overcrowd, because I do want them to color. And actually, for this job, little tongs is what you need. I'm not clumsy at all. So these are really good, and just give it a little bit of time. Like, you will need a good minute to get a little bit of color on, and then we're gonna start turning them. So it's been like a minute and a half or something, and actually they're looking, well, this one is looking good. So this is the kind of thing that you want, but you need to cook them until they're really soft and start collapsing. This one is good. There's some hot spots in the pan. This one is nice, look at that. See that little bit of color? That's going to give us flavor as well. This one is beautiful. But they, of course, they absorb all of the butter. So what we're going to do is, I'm just going to skim a little bit more off, and I'm going to add it in. Oh, careful, it might spit. Ah. But they've already kind of contracted quite a bit, and I'm going to add a couple more. I'm just gonna make sure that I have these ones that are cooked for a bit longer on one side, and then I'm gonna put some fresh ones on this side, just to speed up the process a little bit, you know? So I'm gonna go choo, and oh, some of these aubergines are a little bit seedy, but that's fine. Okay, so this one I'm gonna turn around. It's beautiful, no? And imagine all of that is just saturated with this delicious clarified butter and a little bit of turmeric. It's going to be really good. Aubergine, cook until it's soft, but remember that it's going to cook a little bit longer once we fry it off with all of the tomato juices as well. So actually it doesn't have to be completely cooked, but just kind of like relaxed and brown. That's what we're going for. And I'm going to season as well. I'm going to season as I fry a little bit, because I always season as I cook, as I go along the recipe. Okay, so just some salt. And you know, you can do pepper once. I don't tend to use black pepper that much. In, you know, that kind of a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper. I don't really get it. I use black pepper if it's really the spice, like if we really need to taste black pepper. I don't know why. I just feel like sometimes it's a bit pointless. Like I don't know. I don't know, it's just me. If you want to put black pepper, that's absolutely fine. No problems there. But even chili, I think once you cook it once, and it's really nice in the way that it's actually quite mellow and comforting. But if you want a little bit of heat or some other flavors in it, I don't see why you shouldn't do that. Okay, so I'm going to take these ones out because they're nice and brown, and as I say, they're going to cook more. Oh, look at that. This is really what you want, like this kind of situation. So this is what you're after. Don't worry if not all of them are like that, but if you've got a few aubergines that are that caramelized, it's going to give an extra special flavor to the dish. And yeah, look, it's kind of like nice and collapsed. This, again, is something that we're after. Whoops. Oh, and this one, these new ones that I've put in are ready to be turned, and they're looking good. So I'm just gonna put it into the buttery bit of the pan, and then I'm gonna put some more in. I'm just gonna lift it up. Oh, it's hot. And I'm gonna put more aubergines in. So it took about 20 to 25 minutes to do this in batches, but I mean, have a look. This is gonna make it so extremely flavorsome and delicious. And at some point I started adding a little bit less butter. You know, I want them buttery, but I don't want it to be an overkill. So once the pan has kind of like got enough moisture in, they just fried and didn't stick anyway. So they're buttery, but the last few batches weren't as kind of soaked. But look, I'm gonna show you something, because obviously we're gonna put them back in a second. I'm just gonna put the garlic in first. Okay, so if you've got loads of cherry tomatoes that you need to cut, and you know, and you want to do it quickly, there's a really cool trick that I learned when I worked for Ottolenghi. So you pick your cherry tomatoes, all of kind of like a similar size as best, obviously. And so let's see, mine are a little bit different today, but imagine like you got a pack of tomatoes and they're all the same size, yeah, like this. So what you do is you put them on your surface, and then you put your hand on top. You take a bread knife or something serrated, because that's a bit better. And then, can you see it like this, Kai?
Yeah.
And then with a sewing motion, you just go, voila, and you've got your tomatoes. So obviously at the restaurant we had to do boxes and boxes and boxes, and imagine trying to do one by one, it would take absolute ages. So Natalia, do you want to see? Okay, let's do again, but with the slightly bigger ones. So you can do it again with also slightly bigger cherry tomatoes. So again, you put them in here, you put your hand on top, and then with a sewing action, you just cut through, and you've got your tomatoes. Voila! I hope you enjoyed this little trick and can use it in the future. So I'm just gonna put the aubergines back in. Yeah, and they've got all of that butter, you know, at the bottom. So we're just gonna put it back in. So we don't need to add any more butter. All of the butter that has been absorbed by the aubergines has kind of come out together with their aubergine delicious water, and that's going to be enough moisture. And then I'm going to add the garlic back in as well, our kind of confit sliced garlic. Oh, look at that. It's going to be so tasty. And the first batch of the aubergines was actually cooked in the garlicky butter, so that's going to make them taste extra delicious. And that's it. So I'm just going to give this, I'm going to raise the heat a little bit. And I'm going to add my tomatoes in. Let's put these tomatoes in first. And look how much tomato water is there. So I'm just going to put these in. The dough scraper is useful for this kind of job. So I'm getting all of the tomatoes like this, and again, whoop. I mean, it looks so gorgeous already. Stir it gently, not to break the aubergine up too much. But also, as always, don't get stressed about anything. So I'm gonna actually put a lid on top just to hurry that process up. Okay, the garden is a mess this year. I didn't plant anything in March, but some plants survived the winter, and actually it's this amazing, it's called Vietnamese coriander or hot mint. And it has almost like a curry flavor, and well, obviously it's extremely hardy, and I'm loving it. I use it when I make Vietnamese summer rolls. It just gives it a really unusual, delicious flavor, and I've started adding it into all sorts of dishes, and I'm going to add a little bit today into our Serdakh. Not too much. As I say, it smells almost like a curry leaf, but a little bit more citrusy. I don't know. It's just delicious. I love it. I'm obsessed with it at the moment. And then another thing that I'm obsessed with is this pineapple mint. It's got little white kind of specks on it, and it literally smells like pineapple. It's really fantastic. So yeah. So these are my survivors, and I think I'm gonna plant some more this year actually of both of them because I just love them so much. Okay, so we've just been to the garden. I've got my Vietnamese coriander, I've got the pineapple mint, and in my fridge I also had this amazing dill, which I got at a farmer's market in Leytonstone, and I've never seen this before, these little heads. Actually, you know what, I'm just going to save it for I've got some really nice cucumbers from the same supplier. For the dill, because dill is life, I'm just going to bunch it up like this together, and I'm just going to chop through it. And this is going to be a heady, like really amazing aromatic combination of herbs. So with these, with the Vietnamese coriander, what I do is the same as you would do with basil. So we're going to chiffonade it because it's quite a strong flavor. So I just want quite small bits of it throughout Serdakh. I don't want to be chomping on like big pieces of this herb because it's so powerful. So you stack them up like you would do with basil, and then you roll them into kind of like a cigar shape. I've got some slight crispy bits on the top, but I don't mind that, it's fine. And then I'm just going to slice through it so you get quite small bits of it. With this kind of sewing motion, oops, big chunk, but just like that. Yeah, and then you can do the same with mint, but actually it's really beautiful, so I might leave some smaller leaves as they are without chopping through them. And I'm going to chop through the bigger leaves. There you are. And then these ones I'm going to cut through. Okay, this goes into the compost. And the same thing as we did with the Vietnamese coriander. I'm just going to stack them up like this, and then I'm just going to slice through them. Just like that. And I know it seems unusual, you know, buttery aubergines and really fresh mint and this Vietnamese herb and dill, but it's going to be really delicious. Slightly unusual, but just still very comforting and tasty and nutritious and everything that we need in September and October, I think. Okay, it's looking good. I'm just going to gently kind of give it. So this is it. So normally when I add liquid, this is the, if I don't have those juicy tomatoes, if I add like 100 or 150 mils of water, this is the kind of sauce consistency that you want. But today all of that came from all of these tomatoes, the breakfast tomatoes. I'm just going to taste a little bit and possibly add more salt or not. So get a little bit of juice, get a tomato. Make sure you blow in it so you don't burn your mouth. Hot. But well seasoned. I don't think I need any more. If people want to add a little bit more, they can, but I've got a toddler and he loves aubergines and tomatoes, so I'm just going to leave it kind of like. And then the herbs. I am going to add half of the herbs in now and give it a stir and kind of like cook them for 30 seconds, and then I'm going to leave some of them fresh and put them on top when I serve it. So especially this Vietnamese coriander, I'm going to put most of it in now. And half of this dill. And a little bit of this mint. So it looks beautiful already, doesn't it? And then just give it a nice stir like that. I love this dish. I think it's gorgeous. Okay, it's done. So a little bit of rice or flatbread or something goes so well with it. I'm just going to serve myself a little bit here. I mean, what do you reckon, Natalia?
Amazing.
Amazing. I think it looks really beautiful, and yeah, you need something to soak up all of these tomatoey, buttery aubergine juices and garlic. Let's not forget about the garlic. And then I'm just gonna use the rest of these fresh herbs on top as well. So a little bit of my dill, some of that gorgeous mint, and a little bit of that Vietnamese coriander, and you know, but any herb, as I say, coriander, basil, anything normal is absolutely fine. Okay, so a little bit of tomato and a little bit of aubergine. Ooh, some of my homegrown green tomato. Let's see what it tastes like. It's next level. It's just such a delicious dish. It's buttery, but it's not heavy. It's not like greasy or anything. It's just fresh and comforting. Yeah, thank you, Zulia, so much for teaching me this dish all of those years ago and making it possible for me to teach everyone else. I really hope that you make it.